Hello, everyone. Welcome to Popcast on the Rocks, episode 168. We're a pop culture show that talks about pop culture things that interest us, and sometimes there's whiskey. My name is John, and I'm joined as always by Andrea. How's it going?
It's good, it's good. It's closing out the weekend after the 4th, so it feels like this past week we've done just about a million things and the week has been longer than usual in a good way, but also just like holy guns, it's been busy. So I'm glad that there's like no national holiday and no expectation to go anywhere, do anything next week.
hmm Yeah, the summer is definitely like full steam ahead.
Mhm.
Ends faster than before it feels like it began. So
Yes.
because you
Well,
start
and
planning out
I
things, and all of a sudden it's just over. So
Right. Well, and I mean, it's a very like first world problem here, but I spent like most of June in Scotland. So June was just like
oh yeah,
gone.
wow, yeah,
It's terrible. It's terrible. But it really did hit me. I was like, yeah, that whole month was just like, you know, an
yeah,
asterisk over there to my summer because I really didn't do summer things. I did things. I loved traveling. But
yeah.
yeah, no, it wasn't like summertime.
Sure. Yep. Okay. Well, if summertime says anything, it's hot D, right?
It does, it does. I love that just, like, everybody's on board with Hot D.
I mean, it's just, I'm sure, I don't know who first realized it, but yeah, it's perfect. House of the Dragon season 2 has
Mhm.
begun. We're finally getting back on that, and we'll be covering the
Back on
first
that
two
Hot D.
episodes. Yeah.
You really serve that up like a softball, John, I'm sorry.
Yep. Hmm. So yeah, the first two episodes we'll be getting spoilery about that. That'll be a
Mhm,
little bit later in the episode. Um, and before that, we'll have our weeks, what we've been up to in this summer,
mhm.
and what we've been maybe drinking to cool ourselves down.
Well, look at you also serving up this transition softball for me because our first holiday of the month, July 1st, was Wine Cooler Day, um, which I always associate with, like, the '80s, my mom drinking, like, the
Mhm.
glass bottles of Bartles and James, like, that's just
Yep.
quintessential wine cooler right there. Um,
Mhm.
I remember getting to try one on, like, a summer camping trip and just being like, "So you drink sugar? That's what this is? Like, that's what all the fuss is about?" Like, it's basically just different
uh,
Kool-Aid. Like,
yeah.
I
Mhm.
never tasted a drop of alcohol in those bad boys, so,
Your palate wasn't
ugh.
sophisticated enough yet, Andrea, to pick up the
It
subtle notes of
I
peat.
mean, either that or, Bartles and James really just made a racket by making some fancy juice and telling people there was any sort of alcohol in there. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Okay.
that's what I think of wine cooler days. They are having kind of like a comeback. I've seen a lot of like
Okay.
boxed wine coolers and stuff like that, which, at some point I'll
Mm.
probably give those a go. But yeah, not for this week. That's not what I'm drinking. But
Okay.
no shade to anybody who does. I learned something new with this second drink holiday. July 2nd was Anisette Day, and I always assumed that that was just like, "Oh, hey, we're talking about absinthe." But Anisette is its own, like, anise flavored liqueur that was created as a substitute for absinthe, which I don't think
Mm.
if I did know, I totally forgot and just, like, relearned it this
It
past week.
doesn't have the
So
psychotropic wormwood.
it does not, it does not. It's supposed to be like this, like, tamer alternative, like, "Oh, you can't have absinthe, but
Can't
you can
handle
have,
absinthe,
like,
yeah.
the flavor," which I feel
Okay.
like is totally missing the point. You know what I mean? Like, that
Yeah.
that wasn't, like, what people drank absinthe for was, like, this particular flavor, okay?
Sure.
So,
Okay.
but
All right.
I admire the effort.
Mhm.
And again, someday would try it out at some point if there was an opportunity, just because I'm curious. These next two holidays are a little more abstract. They're not in celebration of a particular drink or liquor. But of course, just as I was talking about this past week, July 4th, it was American Independence Day. Often a lot of celebrations and holiday activities involve drinking. Um, I am celebrating Independence Day by drinking a beer. I have a War
War pigs?
Pigs brewing. Yes, War Pigs. Um, both because I felt like very appropriate for Hot D and also because it's black. And with my black
Mhm.
shirt, I'm declaring I'm Team Black. I was last season
Oh,
too, but I still am this season because,
okay.
as we'll talk about. But yeah, Blinding Light Show is their IPA that I am drinking. It also feels appropriate for talking about Hot D, as I believe that some dragon on dragon warfare to come will be
Mm,
blinding light shows. So,
okay. All right. There you go.
cheers.
Cheers.
Final holiday occurs today on a Sunday. It is National Dive Bar Day.
Okay.
So,
I've
whenever
not
you'd want
been
to drink at a dive bar,
I've not
that's
been
what
to
you should
many
drink here.
dive bars, I don't think, you know? I feel like if you have to wonder if this dive bar, it's not a dive bar.
Yeah.
And,
There's like an
I've been
ambiance that you can just feel as you walk into a dive bar.
okay. I've been taken to one, kind of someone else's hangout spot at one point.
Okay.
That's that's about it
Like,
maybe, I don't
where was that at?
know. I guess it's technically probably still Richfield.
Okay. So here
Yeah. Yeah.
in the Minnesota, I don't know why I always feel like dive bars I associate with like trips to like Tijuana or, like
Right.
somewhere, crazy in Mexico. Like that
Mhm.
just, I don't know. Probably seen too many teen TV shows that have been like dive bar in Mexico. Like, oh, we're going across the border. Woo.
Mm,
Um, so, that's like the image in my mind. But I mean, I've been to like what I would call a dive bar here in Minnesota too as well.
okay. Yeah, I know, I just would say it's, like, consists of locals
Mhm.
and maybe isn't the cleanest,
Mhm.
and the expectation is you're getting some sort of pitcher of domestic or at best, some sort of rail whiskey.
Right, you really gotta go simple. You're getting a pitcher,
Yeah,
you're getting a rail, like you said, like whiskey or like a vodka something, um, and then you're doing shots. You're not, like, ordering a cocktail.
right. Yeah, yeah. Like, 1 bourbon, 1 scotch, 1 beer is even too much, too sophisticated.
Yeah, no.
We got Canadian what is that? Canadian Goose or Canadian something whiskey? I
Oh
see you
god,
like it too.
yeah,
Whatever.
for
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
If any of you out there been to a dive bar or frequent a dive bar,
Little
you know,
turkey
let
tom
us
or something,
let
yeah.
us know. Okay, well, that's very good. I like your pick. War Pigs is always good.
Mhm.
Um, I have, I went Targaryen Red,
I like
um,
it, I like it.
for my drink. This is basically a, like, Negroni and soda. So, instead of a sipping thing, I just now have a drinking thing. So it's gin and, Campari and Rosa, um, vermouth. So
Nice,
and
nice,
then I just top up with club soda. So, yeah.
nice. Well, cheers.
Yes, cheers. Refreshing. All right. Um, drinks. We're cooling down. Perfect. What have you been watching this week?
Haven't gotten once again too much because we've been out doing activities, around the 4th. Also To just be totally transparent, I watched the 3rd episode as well of Hot D, because I definitely thought
I
that that's what
asked. I'm like, I
I
said, Andrea, so Sunday, 2 episodes?
I know, and I definitely in my mind just was like 3 because they're coming out with a new one today.
Yeah.
So I
Mhm.
just, just like misremembered what we were doing because we were gonna be one behind, but it was like one
Yeah.
behind where it already was, not where it's
Mm.
going to be. So my brain just missed that. So I made it a priority to watch that 3rd episode this week. Um, so yeah. So I do know what happens, but I will not pretend like I don't, but try to like, not allude to anything that does happen in
Mhm.
that 3rd episode.
I'm gonna do my best to not ask, like, obviously ask, like, "Oh, wonder what's gonna happen,"
Yeah.
"Wonder where this is gonna go," or whatever.
I just don't
So,
know.
yeah,
Yeah. So I've watched 3 episodes of Hot D, and then I've watched, about 3 episodes also of Kaiju number 8 because I realized I was behind on that show as well. So I'm catching up
yeah,
on some of my anime that, I did not watch while I was in Scotland.
yeah. Nice. Yeah, I intend to catch up on Kaiju as well, probably, power through a few at a time here.
Mhm.
I'm surprised the end of the season is already here, definitely
Mhm. Felt
definitely
quick.
getting more of those shows that are doing the, you know, I don't know, 12, 13 episode type of thing versus
Mhm.
like 26.
Yeah.
But I don't mind because sometimes it's doing, I think the whole naming like system of it, of like, I don't know, they call it like Core 1 and Core 2. I'm probably mispronouncing that or whatever, but
Mhm.
they'll do that with Spy Family. It's like Spy Family
Yeah.
season 2, basically part 1, part 2. And then
Yeah.
it's less time in between. I'm okay with that, but
Yeah,
um
I mean, I really feel like that's a smart way to go in terms of like who you're marketing to now that you've got like a wider American audience who wants when they like something wants like more seasons, whereas like I feel like so many anime shows were doing like the full 26 episode roster but doing like one season, instead
mm,
of doing like what you're saying, like season 1 like basically part 2 or part 1 and part 2. So that way you're kind of like drawing it out a little bit.
I wonder if it's just like adapting to the nature of, you know, people want a continuous feed of something,
Yeah,
and then also the constraints of production that some of these studios have felt.
sure.
Um, a lot of shows under their belts pushing to get stuff out there, and gives them a little
Mhm.
bit of time to sort of catch up and space things out a bit. That's just my
Yeah,
guess. So,
yeah.
cool. Yeah, Kaiju number 8. That's awesome. Hopefully we'll be talking about that on Friday. And then yeah, I've managed to watch some stuff on my own or whatever. I watched The Man with the Golden Gun, which I'm going to refrain from talking about because it's an anniversary year, and
Mhm.
I figure we'll talk about that
Yeah,
later.
we'll absolutely do that.
So, um I finished watching Dune Part 2. Um
Excellent.
because I had seen it in the theater and I wanted to do a rewatch of 1 and 2, in 4 parts. Was hoping to do kind of back to back. I really got the first 3 parts pretty much back to back, and the last half of the second movie, it took a little while. But
Sure.
I was happy to do that because I've just feeling my opinions on a number of things changing these days. And the funny thing how this came about last night was I felt like watching a really, really good James Bond movie. It's like it's been a while. I've been watching other James Bond movies, just more lighthearted, or
Right.
because I forgot it, and I know it's maybe not one of the best, but So I put on Skyfall, and I'm watching it for quite a while, and then I see Javier Bardem, who I know is the bad guy in
Mhm.
Skyfall, and he's excellent. But I'm like, I'd been getting a little bored, and I had a couple like quips with Daniel Craig's performance, and I just thought I feel like finishing Dune right now. So I just it was way too late. I just put on the rest of Dune, finished Dune,
Sure.
and there it is. And so I'm like, just but it worried me. I love Skyfall. Why was why was I not enthralled with Skyfall? You know,
Mhm.
I'm it's just the mood, I guess, the mood I was in or not in this case. But yeah, I don't know what to think about that. So
Sure. Yeah, I'd be interested to like talk about that at some point because yeah, Skyfall is I mean, absolutely one of my favorites. I know it's I mean, pretty universally loved. It's, like anything by no means perfect, but it was definitely a solid Craig outing, so I'd be
yeah,
interested to hear like what your quibbles with that would be and what, bothered you about Craig's performance
yeah.
there.
Well, I hope to this week jump back in and finish it, and maybe I will be more, you know, more amiable to it at this point.
Yeah.
Going
Can
back.
always just be a mood, something that just like hits you wrong and then just you're just kind of like sour
Yeah,
watching it. Yeah.
because I yeah, I've just been it. Bond is one of those weird things that I do change my opinion over the years, rewatching the different ones. Like it just whatever flavor I'm into, there's always something. There's always some Bond movie I'm into. It's
Mhm.
just kind of varies. So I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk about that later. We'll get into more Bond stuff. I just wanted to mention I started the Doctor No novel, and
It's
I
such a good
really
opening.
it is. I
It
just
so
got
is.
pulled into this one fast.
Mhm.
It's um I I didn't know what to expect. I haven't seen the movie Doctor No in a long time,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's this one's a page turner so far. Like so far where I'm in this book, it's my favorite one. So I mean, there's a
Okay,
lot to
yeah.
go yet, but
Yeah.
it's so.
Yeah, no,
You
it's
said
a
you're like
it's a really good
60 pages
opening.
in or something?
Yeah, I think I got a little bit further before I paused. I was probably like 80, 90 somewhere in there by
Okay.
the time I had like taken a pause and then now I got to go back and probably honestly reread some of that just to like, fill in the detail, but
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was funny because I got a little bored of Skyfall and wanted to finish Dune, and then did so. And then I'd been reading Dune, and I was like, but I'm really enjoying Doctor No, so let me just put Dune down and go back to Doctor No.
so you're like switching off your
Yeah,
likes. You're like, "Huh,
yeah,
man, I'm really liking this written form, but now I got to watch it. Now I got to read this cuz the watching of this is not living up to my expectations."
yeah, yep.
That's funny.
And then I just watched Independence Day, so I have
Oh,
been
nice.
a
Classic.
minute on that. Yeah, and it still holds up. I left a review on Letterboxd, signed up for that
Oh,
now,
yeah.
and yeah, it's the effects start to show their age a little bit, but it really doesn't detract. And yeah, it's just like they did a good job of having quite a few likable characters in there, and they're a little over the
Mhm.
top, but none of them get obnoxious. Like I feel
Right.
like that'd be a problem people would do today is if they were going to try to do these over the top characters, some of them would get to be too much. It would go
Mhm.
too far with the humor of one of them
Mhm.
or something like that. And this is
Sure.
well balanced. So
Independence Day is one of those like classic childhood movies that I did not watch until I was an adult. Like I have seen this
another
one. This
one.
is not like
Okay.
Armageddon.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not like I never watched it, but
Uh-huh.
it was definitely like I think I was in college the first time I saw it.
Okay. Yeah. How did it impact you at that point?
I really enjoyed it. I mean, I always loved like Will Smith. And so, but by that point I had like seen him in like other things. It was kind of like nice to come back to something that solid
Sure.
versus like and I mean, I love this movie so much, but it's so bad like Wild Wild West. Like, it's
Okay.
such a bad movie. It's terrible, but you love it anyway. Like, it's so bad, it's good.
I
But
mean,
you
I
know what I
love the
mean?
theme
Like,
song.
yeah, of course you do. It's a banger, man. But no, that movie is so, so terrible, like, god awful. But I love it. It's bad, but, like, Selma Hayek is hilarious. She's so over the top. Kevin Kline, like, he is just he's such, like, a good straight man, like, to Will Smith's, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'd need
He's,
to
like,
see it
totally,
again.
like, unaware. It's the storyline is god awful. And Kenneth Branagh is, like, the most over the top, like, theatrical villain that there could ever be. The technology is, like, wildly impossible. The
Mhm.
whole premise makes 0 sense. It's literally just about watching these actors do something with this terrible story and them
Okay.
being, like, good, but you're like, "Ugh, this story misses the mark for you guys, so you're never gonna take it anywhere great."
I'll have to try that again someday. I was excited for that one at first because
Mhm.
my favorite Western has always been Silverado, and Kevin Kline is
Mm.
in Silverado, and I really liked that
Sure,
character. And
sure.
so I was excited to see him in this. Not the same level of quality. Not the same
No,
level of quality.
no. And he has nothing to do with, like, the Western elements, I mean, which are, to be fair, pretty vague, or, like, not well defined in this movie. He has nothing to do with those elements of the story.
Definitely steampunk before I knew what it was.
Yeah. Mhm. Absolutely.
Okay.
But yeah,
Well,
Independence Day is a far superior Will Smith film, like,
yes.
I'm making no, like, bones about that, I'm just saying, like,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
I would watch Independence Day to watch, like, a great film with him in it, and I would watch Wild Wild West to, like, watch a terrible movie for a good time.
Mm. See, I mean, I would okay, for a good time though. Okay. All right. Well, I would watch
You know what I
House of the
mean?
Dragon for an awesome time. That's what I would
I
do. I would
mean,
watch House.
yes, I would watch House of the Dragon for an awesome time. I said good
Yeah.
time, like,
Yeah. Okay. See, I
something you
was
definitely don't have to pay attention to, unlike House of the Dragon. Because definitely
yes.
getting into, like, episode 1, I was like, "Oh my god, I really need to pay attention to figure out where in the hell all these people left off, who they all
Yes.
are, and really" like, I definitely had in this season the Game of Thrones moment where you're like, "Okay, this person is this person, they're related, this is what they're doing, this is why this is" like, I hadn't had that really in season 1. I felt really able to keep everybody straight, and here I was like, mass
Yeah.
chaos.
Well, with the time passage in season 1 and then, like, a
Mhm.
bunch new kids and stuff, and then marriages rearranging, it just
Mhm.
got to be a lot. So, we
Yes.
definitely watching it, we're also a little, thinking, "Man, should have taken the time to rewatch season 1 or something, or a recap," because
Yes.
as we're going through this, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, this" in their little recap to their they did what they could. They can't tell it
Right,
say
there's so
everything,
much.
but, yeah, we kept remembering things like, "Oh, yeah, do you remember this whole
Mhm.
deal that they don't mention at all?" Um, so, yeah.
Yeah,
I did feel behind. I felt behind.
I mean, I apologize for this, but it's a good reference, so I'm going to reference something that's mentioned in episode 3. Um, Rhaenyra talks about her late lord husband in a sentence, and it took Chris, like, a minute to be like, "Laenor," she's mentioning Laenor, Damon's not dead.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
you know what I mean? Because it was like, oh my
That's
god,
one of
there
the
was, like, a
things.
whole thing where she was married to Lena's brother and Damon was married
Exactly.
to Lena and, like right, like, I mean, we both were like, "Yeah," 'cause, you know, it's it's just I
Yeah,
mean, it's unfortunately not super important right now in this season, so you forget it,
right.
and then you're like, "Oh my god, right."
Yeah,
Or
what a
like
big thing that was. They, like, plot his death, fake it, not fake it, like, yeah.
right? And, like and then thinking about, like, this opening sequence, not the very opening, but the first, true Targaryen opening that we get between Rhaenys and Daemon, and there's, like,
Mm,
so much tension that you have to remember comes from Daemon marrying her daughter and then potentially plotting to kill her son. Like,
yeah,
it's just
right?
like it's not just like we don't like each other tension. It's like we have really great reasons to not like each other tension.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, absolutely. It is definitely a show you have to pay attention to. It's definitely a show where the names aren't, traditional names in for what we'd be familiar with. Some of them are very similar,
Mhm.
Renice, Rhaenyra, whatever, it's like that's
Reina.
yeah. So, um, and then, first and second of his name and all that sort of thing. So
Mhm.
it gets to be a lot. But I, I got back into the importance of the immediate drama
Mhm.
pretty
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
Catch up, a large picture. We understand where we're at, and it's it's been great. I'm a little less enthralled by the opening of this season,
Mhm.
just the animation and stuff. I do absolutely still love the theme song. I'm glad that they didn't
Heck yeah.
change it. I'm just that always is. I remember from season one, like going in so skeptical, and then they start with a theme song. I'm like, oh, but I feel it. I want to like
Yep.
it, and then I
Yep.
did. So just happy that theme song's still there, even if I'm a little less than impressed by the visuals going along with it.
Yeah, I mean, to agree and also add on, I don't love the visuals. I still hate this, like, construction, um, opening that everybody seems so fond of. Like, we have to, like, do some sort of abstract making of,
Mm,
something. But I at least appreciate, like, in this, I was, like, trying to catch the scenes and catch the significance of the tapestry, whereas, like, before it was, like, rivers of blood are going from place to place, like, that I've seen
yeah,
eventually I've seen it, and I don't really have to pay attention. This, at least, I was sort of
right.
like, interesting, like, I'm trying to look for clues.
Yep, right. Um, okay. So where do you want to start? What stood out to you in this first episode or what we've seen so far?
Sure.
You said you're still team black, team red,
Heck yeah.
whatever,
Heck yeah.
not the
Black and
greens.
red, baby.
Um, the to me, like right now, the element standing out is wow, what an awful king. Like just
Yes. Yes, the greens basically just continue to suck, like, all of them.
yeah,
I don't like
yeah.
anybody.
I feel I mean, not because he's a good guy, but I feel a little bad for, um, Father Hightower. Um,
Otto? I
yeah,
don't.
Otto. I mean, I understand, but at the same time, I'm just thinking, like, he is doing his damnedest to try to keep their family in charge of the land, in charge of everything. And he just can't. He doesn't
Yeah.
it's such a contrast from Game of Thrones where you had someone like Tywin that had his children wrapped around his finger. Like he
Mhm.
knew the levers to pull. He had
But he
years of
totally
being able to
does.
control them.
Yes, yes, I completely agree with you. Tywin is, like, masterclass in this sort of,
Yeah,
like, horrific, like, patriarchal devotion above all else and, like, scaring the
right.
bejesus out of your children. Like, he is
Yeah.
great at that. He is also great at the
Mhm.
long game and the plans.
Right.
Otto Otto is like a shadow of that. But, like, I can't feel sorry for him because, A, dude, you wanted this. Like, this was, like, your big master plan all along. And if you're not good enough to keep the plate spinning and it's all unraveling, like, I don't feel sorry for you. And, like, I do feel like he has his children wrapped around his finger. He just can't control his grandchildren.
Grandchildren? Yeah.
Like, Allison clearly like, I have a note in here that's like, "Why do you care about your dad? He sucks." And she's all eating up his words when he's like, "We just have to do this together, and we just have to remember, like, we have the same aims." And she's totally like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "This guy sold you off when you were 14, maybe younger, because I can't tell anybody's ages, but, like, sold you off to this king and, like, put you in your mom's dress and, like, you know, sold you at
But
auction, basically."
it was a
And it was
valuable, like,
creepy.
pairing,
It's
and
creepy,
she was, for all, yeah, all accounts, treated well, you
creepy,
know? And,
creepy.
like, the weirdest thing was really for, like, obviously, it's odd for her friend, her husband's daughter. Like,
Mhm.
that makes it all super weird. But, like, anyone could be so lucky in this world that you're, like, married
Yeah, I
off to
mean,
the king, you know? And, like, it
luckily
just has,
Viserys was, like, a decent human being.
yeah.
Like,
I mean,
thank goodness, but it's still creepy.
everybody forgets the life of the peasant. Most people are out there just trying to not starve. And then royalty, it's like it's all like the first class problem stuff. It's like, I don't, I don't want to do my duty. I don't want to wear a dress. I don't want to do this. I don't want to marry that person. All this stuff. It's like, you get to live in luxury and have servants. So I always am a little bit like, cry me a river for these people. And I just don't know what she's supposed to do. Uh, if she says, to hell with you, father, what does she do? She has no one else. Like, it,
T-do. Like,
what's that? What's he?
he basically wants to secure himself some power through his daughter, so, like, if she says
Right.
no, like,
It all
then
falls
you better
apart.
yeah, but then you better, like, find another avenue then. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's not like his life would crash and burn if she said no. He's just, like, grasping at more power. Like, he would still be hand of the king. He'd still be, like, in this really amazing position. He'd still be, like, top advisor. So, like, with his daughter saying no, the only thing he doesn't get is, like, the actual crown. And, like, boo fucking who.
So, but you want her to say no before, you're saying, right? That's what you're saying, say no to, like, previously, like, I'm not going through with this to secure your, I'm not going through with getting
Yeah. I'm
my
not going through with,
son.
like, seducing a very sad man by, like, dressing up in something that is, like, obviously meaningful and significant and preying on those, like, you know, weaknesses of emotion right now to a guy who's, like, way older than me, is my best friend's dad. I'm not gonna lie to her about it, like, and, like, hide it behind her back. Like, yes, all of that should have been a no. Now, do I get why she was, like,
I
manipulated and pressured and was like, "I am a dutiful
Right.
daughter, I should do these things?" Totally, of course I do. But I'm just saying, like, as an adult, she very obviously last season told Otto, like, "I know what you did, you manipulated me, and, like, you are just in this for your own gain, you didn't really care about my emotional well-being." She
Right.
recognized that. She had that moment of
Right.
recognition, and then in this season, she's back to, like, "Whatever you say, father." Like, why did we
But
have that if we're gonna go back here?
so I agree in the sense, well, obviously she was manipulated, and that was, it would have been a better thing if we would have been just honest about what was going on here. Instead of like,
Mhm.
oh, go to him or whatever. Oh, I forget how it all went, but that was definitely
Wear this, like, specific
deceptive.
dress of your yeah,
Yeah,
like, you'll
right.
remind him of Emma, like, it was
But
creepy and, like, obviously predatory. Like, it was creepy.
ultimately, if it had been honest versus instead of deceptive, like, maybe the choice would have been different. But the wise choice was probably still to accept marriage to the king. That's probably still the wise
Yeah.
choice for you, for your family, for your offspring, all that sort of thing. So yes, saying no, but what you're more mad at is your father and the way he did this, way he manipulated you versus the outcome.
Yeah, I mean, if there was some sort of something happening with the king who, again, was not in, like, this emotionally vulnerable state, and that you deliberately, like, leaned into for Otto, because, like, again, Alicent was, super young and not aware of what she was doing exactly.
Right.
But, yes, if there was some sort of honest development and he was like, "I like you, I need to get remarried, like, you're the person I choose," whether for love, whether for logic, but it was all out in the open,
Yeah.
different story. Like, that's up to Allison to say, like, "I accept," or whatever, or "I don't." But, I mean, we had this whole example of Viserys before, he really plunged in his decline, treating his daughter differently. Like, he arranged a marriage for her, he arranged, like, multiple options, and she was like, "Yeah, not gonna do that." And he was like, "Okay, cool, like, you don't have to marry my specific choice. You're just gonna have to marry smartly. You're gonna have to marry, like, maybe to secure your rule, maybe to, like, make some connections for, funds for the kingdom, armies, like, whatever it is, make a smart choice, but make your choice. Like, you
Right.
choose." And Otto Hightower was basically like, "Yeah, no, I'm just gonna, like, choose for you and do it in a really gross way."
Yeah. I mean, there's at different points that she could have said no. I mean, the one, like, she
Or
didn't know
just been
about the
more open about it.
right, but she did unaware of the manipulation to begin with, and then being very young, being not fully developed mentally.
Right.
I don't blame her. Then the second no would be like, no, I'm not going to overthrow the whole order here and try to put my kid on the throne.
Mhm.
But she was convinced that her husband had said on his deathbed he wants her son to rule,
Right.
which I thought was really
Wants
weak,
your
really
idiot
weak.
boy.
Yeah, it's really weak, and I'm surprised that she, I guess, in a state of being emotional, grieving, whatever, was convinced of this because we, as we found out here in episode 2, as he tells the king, Otto tells the king, um, "You think that's what you think? Is he wanted you? You know, your dad wanted you to
Right.
rule? I don't think so.
Right.
That's laughable." So he knew better. He just took again the opportunity to see that his daughter and is convinced here. Yes, we can go. This is a path forward we can take.
He's like,
And
"Cool, that works for my agenda."
but what does she say no to now? What is the no now? What is the point now in not working with her father? Because now, like the cookie has crumbled in a sense, and so you have the pieces lay before
Because
you.
well, so here the no is like, or at least the, we're not just like, I'm not just gonna move forward with your, like, we need to remember that we're united in a goal, which is basically code for him saying, like, "You need to do what I want you to do." Like, he doesn't care
Right?
about
Yeah, yeah,
her, which he showed her because he undermined her continually in the small council, like cutting off her legs, or he's like, "Oh, the queen says this," like, and looked at everybody else like how cute this woman is speaking. And that's what she, like, comes bursting in there for. She's like, "You need to stop doing this to me. You need to stop
yeah,
undermining my authority." And so that's, not like a no that she should be saying, but definitely should be like less of a, "I care what you think and I care about you, father, and you're totally like with these 2 sentences about working towards common goals, like, oh, we're a family, fuzzies." Like, no. You know what I mean? So, like, I just wish Allison would be a little more eyes open and take her father to task a little bit more. I get that it's a very hard cycle to break when you are so, I don't know, in awe or, just like admiring and fearful of someone, to like break that grip and break that parental hold that he clearly has, where like she wants to still be a dutiful daughter and like, you know, agree with what he's saying and feel this like paternal love from him, but she really just needs to, like, work at breaking that because he
Sure.
sucks.
But they are on the same side. Like, I
They
agree.
are,
I thought
but
the
they can just be,
conversation
like,
was, yeah,
they could just be a little
more
more, like, honest
confrontational.
about, like, it's not, yeah, it's not like warm, fuzzy family time, like,
Right.
you're working
Yeah.
towards a mutual goal, you don't have to be, like, this fake sentiment because it doesn't really feel like you feel it,
Yeah.
especially from Otto. Like, and he demonstrates that throughout both of these 2 episodes when he's like, "Oh, hey, did your little boy, my grandson, get murdered? Well, I kind of like have the perfect, political strategy for this." Like,
Mhm.
yeah, there is no like, I am a grandfather who lost my grandchild. This is like media spin,
Right.
like it's total just like campaign strategy. There is
Yeah.
no feeling.
Well, okay, so Otto is, not holding not holding this plan together, this family together. It's not working out.
No.
No longer hand of the king.
Ah,
Yeah,
good one.
and, I was
Well,
hoping
and
that might
honestly, sorry. Oh yeah. That would go well with that shirt.
I know.
Um, Honestly, I felt like some of the theme of these first 2 episodes were like, Aegon, the current king, says something and everybody's like, "You're dumb." And he's like, "I'm the king." And they're like, "Of course you are, little cutie. Like, you're the best king." And then by the end, he was a little more like, "You've spent all this time telling me I'm the king. I've said I'm the king. I'm going to start doing things." And people are like, "Oh crap, maybe we should have not convinced him so much, like that
Yeah,
he would be the king, that he was chosen. Like, he's really believing all of our hype now. This could be a
yeah.
problem." And
It
that's where
was
I
an
came
interesting
to.
that's where you came to what?
But just by the end of like, the
Oh, yeah.
first few episodes was like,
Yep.
"Oh, Aegon's going to be such a problem."
Yeah. Well, it was an interesting tension on, like, I think the first high council meeting they showed, how it's like, yeah, people want to dismiss him and sort of thing, but he's also is the king, so he can kind of give, like, the, Lannister grief, because he brings his
Mhm.
little one there, and, yeah, so
Yeah,
those
little
sort of
Jaehaerys.
weird, kind of like threats, but, then Otto's there to sort of, quiet him down and some
Right.
of that, but, um, Alicent is
Yeah.
failing, as well as,
Ugh. Yes.
she so I cannot I can't stand, it's hard to stomach her and Kristen,
Ugh.
uh, just it's
No,
so
they're so awful.
Ashley
And
reminded
like,
me, like, wasn't she all upset because initially Rhaenyra had been sleeping with Cole,
yeah.
and then Cole took it as I forget what it was, like, she betrayed him or whatever.
Well,
She had to
he
move
he
on.
he wanted to, yeah, he wanted to marry her and she was like, "Yeah, no, I'm
I
marrying
can't
someone
do that.
else. Like,
Yeah,
thanks. Like,
right.
not
And
you're
so
not
he
my
got
strategic
really
alliance." And
vengeful.
he was all like, yeah, he was all like, "This is true love and we're going to get married and I'm going to like overthrow my sworn vows and like this is a huge sacrifice that I'm making." And she basically was like, "Yeah, this was really fun.
Mhm.
Thanks. But no thanks." So yeah. So that's where he got all like twisted in his mind that she manipulated him and he like, "Oh, this was like such a pure thing and you spoiled it because you spoil everything and you twist it
Yeah,
around and now I have to like eradicate this evil person who made me fall into temptation basically for nothing."
yeah. And Allison, in my view, should have really been like she should have him much better under control at this point. Like, she can totally get rid of him, can totally throw him under the bus,
Yeah.
but she completely has the power in this relationship. And she should be using that to make sure he's in line and, like, going along with the plan here and stuff. And instead, we just get him being Maverick out here. And then,
Yep.
like, how dare he? How dare he go to what Sir Eric or whatever his name is and question
Oh,
his
oh, oh, I
honor and
know.
stuff? I just
Where were
that part
you?
just
Where
got
were
me.
you?
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
excuse
Ugh.
wow.
No. No, that was yeah, no, Kristen is, like, the absolute worst.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I mean, Alicent is the one who liked him first, way, way long ago in that, like, very first episode where they had the tournament for, Rhaenyra's soon-to-be born baby brother, and he, like, wore her favor and or, like, wanted to wear her favor, and she was all, like, you know, starry-eyed, like,
Mm,
"Oh, Sir Kristen, like, he's my ideal," and so she carried that over from, like, way long ago. So she's still sort of, like, in a weird grip of, like, "I finally got him," and I can finally be happy as queen by sleeping with who I wanna sleep with, even if it's in secret. So there's, like, that element, plus, like, again, she does have the power, but she, like, constantly doesn't know it or constantly doesn't feel it because, like, people
yeah,
are like Otto are cutting her off, like they're undercutting her all the time. So it seems like she doesn't have the power. And I think she like believes that. She starts feeling
maybe.
like she doesn't.
I mean, can you
So
imagine like, what's her name? Tyrell? Is it, Marjorie?
Marjorie
Yeah.
or
Like
Olenna.
yeah, no, Marjorie. She'd totally be
Okay.
playing this situation differently. There's no
Oh
way she's
yeah.
getting, like if she's getting walked on
No.
in, face value by anybody, okay, but behind the scenes, absolutely not.
No.
Um,
Absolutely not. I agree. She would have had that situation well in hand. Like she would have manipulated
yeah.
this fully to her advantage. And yeah, Allison's again, the Hightowers are not good at managing stuff. Or
Apparently.
I mean, or managing like their own family or like their own like overarching ambitions. Like Otto Hightower was clearly a great manager for Viserys. He just sucks at it for like his family. And
Right.
Alicent sucks at it for
Take
her
care.
family.
Well, and then we have a king out of control, which is understandable for child king. And then
Right.
he's grieving, and we have this opportunity where, he's like feeling alone, and she's feeling guilty that she was just off banging while, keeping the guy in charge of security preoccupied
Mhm.
while his
Mhm.
kid's murdered. And she doesn't go to comfort her own son at all,
Right.
just leaves
Right.
him be.
Like
So when you don't have
bare minimum, Alicent. Come on.
she just seems to not she is so shitty at everything. She
Yes.
just she can't be a mom, she can't be a ruler, and she's failing at being a enough of a submissive daughter, It's just
Yep.
can't win.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you saw it earlier too when like Helena was trying to talk to her about her grief and Allison's all
Yes.
like, "Oh, I'm just so grief stricken over what my poor daughter endured." Pause, pause, pause. So about me having sex with Kristen, like,
Yes.
and you were like,
Yes.
"Oh,
Exactly.
just
She doesn't give a shit. She
cringe."
doesn't
She does
care about
not give a shit.
oh my
Oh
god.
god. Or like her whole like moment of convincing Helena, like, we need to go along with like your grandfather's plan. We should put on this spectacle. Like, she's like, I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it. And she's like, yeah, but we're going to do it. Like, if
Mhm.
you really cared about what your daughter just endured, no, no, there's no way. Not for love, for money, for power, whatever. You do not make her do that. So, yeah.
While we're on it, Helena, I don't
Hmm.
care, like, I if 1 year like, I'm super sensitive about kid stuff now. If one of your kids is about to
Yeah.
be murdered, you are throwing your body in front of that person. It doesn't matter if you are dying, you are going out kicking and screaming to prevent it. And I
Hmm.
know she's strange. I don't know if she's just, like, an
She's
introvert
like
Or
No, she's clairvoyant. She's, like, supposed to be, from what I understand, like a Cassandra-like figure where she has, like, visions and tells, like, her dreams that come true, and she has, like, these, like, flashes and you know what I mean? And she, like, is a little bit prophetical, but nobody believes her,
okay,
because they think, like, "No, you're just simple," when really, like, she just can't quite order her thoughts because she's getting these, like, pieces of visions and stuff, and then trying to reconcile that with, like, her everyday life. That's from what I understand from my, like, reading of, the books, is,
okay,
like, this is her problem, so that's why she's, like, a little off.
sure. Okay. Yeah, I never knew what it was there exactly, but she went down a
Mhm.
notch in my eyes here because it's like normally
Yeah,
she's like feels like the only saint. As weird as she is, she feels like the only sane, nice one in the entire
right?
family.
Agreed.
And but now it too docile in the face of this, and
Yeah.
not good.
Yeah,
Not
really just, like, gave up one of her kids, like,
Yep.
chose. Like, even not like, I could have maybe forgiven the not fighting if she was, like, trying to think of how and what to do, you know? Like, if she's just so, like, "I need to think of something, I need to think of something, like, I don't know what to do right here." I could have forgiven that, but, like, man, she chose one of her kids. She did
Yeah.
it.
I thought she was gonna be kind of because she often doesn't say much. I thought she was gonna kind of lock up and be kind of slapped around until
Mhm.
she said something and she just kind of wouldn't. And then they would just
Yeah.
go and like, I'm gonna kill both of them or something like that, or I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, it's uh, I don't know, crazy
Yeah.
craziness. So
Yeah. That was a very shocking end to a first episode for the
yeah,
Greens.
yeah. And so kind of moving from there, then Damon's the one that put this in motion here. What do
Mhm.
you think of this? What do you think of this plan? It's like his wife tells him, "Hey, I want what's his name? Eye
Amond.
Patch Kid,
Eye
Amond."
Patch Kid.
Yeah. And and so he's like, "I'm gonna, this is what I know how to do. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna find a
Mhm.
way to even the score in this sense and maybe
Mhm.
give her some sort of, you know, peace or whatever." Is it a giant mistake? I mean, obviously it turns out the way it ends up is a giant mistake. But should he have not done this or should he have done this?
I mean, he was definitely damned if he did, damned if he didn't. Um, because, like, we've had the first part of the episode where she's been gone. Damon is frustrated because even though he's king consort, nobody's treating him like he has any sort of, right to rule in her absence. And I think he very much expected that he would.
Hmm,
So he's feeling frustrated. He's feeling like
sure.
stymied. There's been nothing going on. He doesn't like having to wait for Rhaenyra. But when she comes back, her first words are words of vengeance. And he's like, yes, like finally she's back. She wants what I want. Like, he obviously tried to get Rhaenys to fly with him to um
Yep.
King's Landing. So he's been waiting for like action, and this is his moment. And this is his wife being basically like, I want what you want. I am the same as you.
Yeah.
Um so yes, so she says this thing and he's jumping on it, one for himself, and I think two for her. Like, she said this out loud at a council meeting and he wants to be like, I'm the one who's going to deliver this for you. So she says it, he wants to make it happen. And obviously it turns out horribly, so now she can say like, "What did you do? I didn't really mean like this." But if it had turned out wonderfully, I think she still would have been like a little horrified at his actions. So I think
Hmm,
I think either way it was going to turn out, it wasn't going to turn out well, but he did it. He did it. He did it for him. Obviously, I don't think he should have sort of added the part where any Targaryen head will do if you can't find Aemon. Like,
Did he say that? Did he say that for sure? Because
I
I
mean,
don't remember that.
it's
I remember him saying that he describing who he wanted dead,
mhm.
and then later the 2 that were hired to do it, they said that it's a son for a son.
Yes, like,
So
"Get me a
they
high
said that
tower."
right. So
And then
that
Rhaenyra, like, implies, like, you know, any high tower
so
does. So, like, they're all implying that Daemon said that, but I don't
right.
remember him actually directly saying that either.
So the way
I
I saw that was he's saying, "I want this person, this is the description. It's a son for a son. That's how we're squaring this up." But
yeah.
not saying, "Give me," but now maybe they take it that way. It's like, well, he said this person, but we want the rest of our money. So technically, he did mention at one point it's a son for a son. Now,
Mhm.
once we say, well, he meant this, he said this son. Well, but so then they can come back to him with a technicality like we
Right,
couldn't find the other one. It's a son. So that's
right.
I don't know.
I also feel like Blood and Cheese didn't look very hard for Aemond.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I understand the stress of being in there and like you're gonna get caught and stuff.
Right.
But yes, I
But,
agree.
like, they definitely happen upon the queen and they're like, "Cool." Or, like, the one guy
Yeah.
is, like, really just like, "Cool."
Yeah.
And it's like, "Did you search any other rooms?" Like,
Hmm.
I mean, I know Aemond wasn't there, but you don't know that. Like, you
Right.
just found the first family members you did.
I mean, I guess it's on. I mean, he's going to someone that one is still, supposed to be loyal to him, like whatever to the high towers, and then the other one knows how to get in. So you're doing
Mhm.
with what you have. But really you needed someone that was really loyal and you could trust because then they could hide out, perhaps find a spot to like
Right,
wait,
wait for Aemond in
overnight or
particular.
whatever, till you actually instead of just like going in and then, oh, we're just gonna hopefully not be noticed by the king and his bro pack
Right.
there.
Oh my god, I just, like, more gag because it was just, like,
Yeah,
mutual entourage up in there.
yeah.
Let's, like, talk about what you should be called. Should I be Aemond or Aegon the Magnanimous or, like, "Ooh, the people love this, like, cool name, bro." Like,
It wasn't like Eamon the something dick,
yeah.
like Dragon Cock or something like that.
Yep,
Whatever it is.
yep. Yeah, they, like, started off all serious, and then suddenly they're like,
Yeah,
"Aegon the Dragon Cock," and it's like, "Oh
yeah.
god, gross." Like, so
But it's
cringe.
com
Like, such,
it's
like, 14-year-old boys just, like,
yeah.
being like, "Oh, we're gonna totally, like, one up each other and, like, be, like, oh, super
What what
manly."
I what I like
It's
about
such, like,
this
play acting.
right, right. You're posturing for your friends and some of that.
Yeah.
What I like about, Aegon being king here and everything is just I do think it's like, Joffrey before as Child King was possible, but he was clearly demented,
Yes.
sadistic. Aegon is a neglected kid, he's just
Yeah.
so his decisions and the way he is just rings true to me for
Mhm.
many a kid that might be thrown into power like this. So,
Yeah, well, and I mean, I think you hit on, like, an important distinction that Joffrey is, like, demented because
mhm,
he was. Aegon is cruel, and he is a bully. Like, but no, he is not, like, an extraordinary version of either. Like, he is a perhaps a little bit extra because, like, he's been neglected. He's a little bit vain, he's spoiled, but he also can sense that, like, neither of his parents was truly interested in him and, like,
yeah,
really cared about him, and so he, like, I think sought attention by being cruel to his little brother, which is
yeah,
not terribly unusual It's just sad, and now
Right.
it's, like, even more sad because he's in a position of actual power, and he's
Yeah.
still just, like, a vain little bully.
Yep.
But to your point, it's very realistic.
Yep.
Whereas Joffrey was
Um,
just like, "Oh my god." Like, new levels of sadism from this, like, small child.
right. Um, okay. Sorry to pull us back into Aegon
No,
territory.
no.
We gotta talk yet still about
The blacks?
Damon and no, I just want that confrontation yet between Damon and Rhaenyra that really like the breakdown of like I don't trust you. What'd you make of that whole thing? Because that was a pretty intense scene, and I just like their relationship. It's really it's unorthodox, and the discussion of like the power and can you see me as like the ruler and all the, I don't know. I just thought it was good
Yeah,
conversation.
they both had great points. I mean, like, I noted that in their conversation, like, it was a tough conversation, it was pretty brutal, but, like, Rhaenyra's fairly right to bring that up, like, Damon has been kind of going around wanting to be in charge a little bit more than he is and being frustrated that he's, like, waiting around at Rhaenyra's pleasure, and so I think, at least she brings it out in the open and says, like, "Okay, like, this is how you feel, like, this is maybe how you're gonna feel the rest of your life, like, can you accept it? Because if not, like, we should do something about that right now, because it's not going to be different."
Hmm.
Like, this is I mean, that's just is how it is, like, with any ruler, like, even when you're married to them, you don't just get to be, like, de facto or, like,
Yeah.
issue commands without, like, their approval.
But I mean, when you have people loyal to you and there's tears. I mean, look, Cole goes and commands one of his men to go out and assassinate someone on just his directive alone. Like that's not his
Mhm.
charge, but he listened, decided to do it. And
Right,
I mean, I think a
and
lot
I
of
mean,
people
if
have that like,
yeah, I mean, if there was, like, a specified avenue in which Damon had power, like, "You are commander of X," then sure. But Damon's going around trying to command people that, like, clearly wouldn't be under his like, Rhaenys, when he's like, "I order you to
that's
come
the
back and
one
ride."
kind of exception. Yeah, she's
Yeah,
like
like,
the exception to this.
but she's not like the exception, like, he can't command Rhaenyra's council either, because they clearly haven't allowed him to. They've been waiting around for her to do anything while she's gone off and, like, searched for proof that, her son really died. Which understandable. You got a raven, like you've got that last tiny bit shred of hope, like,
Yeah,
maybe you need to find something. But yeah, so clearly he's been trying to move things along in her absence, and they're all like, "We are waiting for Rhaenyra." So he isn't in any like direct specified position of authority. He's literally just like the king consort right now. If he was head of security, if he was like master of war, like I don't know what titles you ever want to, these people give each other. But if he was like commander of the city watch again, like he was, way back when for Viserys, like he was captain of the Gold Cloaks. Sure, like he could have commanded anybody to go somewhere and do something. But that's clearly not, like, the system they have set up right now.
right. Yep.
So if he
So
if
to
he
me, with
needs that and
patience and
Rhaenyra's
follow through with everything, like you'll get your, you know,
I feel
level
like
of
he and Rhaenyra
control.
yeah, he and Rhaenyra really should have just like, they have had no time to, like, discuss anything
Yes.
and, like, talk about how this would look, but, like, really the conversation they should be having is, like, "Listen, ultimately, I'm still gonna be queen, but, like, I get that you're craving action. I get that you're craving, like, your own avenue of I have this under my control. Here's what I can offer you."
Yeah.
Instead of just being like, it's all or nothing. You have to accept me or, and just like be in a role that you clearly don't like.
Sure.
Like he loves
Right.
her and he like I think as a husband um is happy with that role, but he's not happy not doing things. He's not happy not
Yeah.
having tasks or,
Sh-
goals. Like he wants action.
She needs to be better at um s- forgetting the term I'm looking for here. Delegating tasks to
Yeah.
different, you know, to give people purpose and keep things in order. But as to your point, just been a moment and she's been gone. So
Mhm.
like, let's take a breath now, but they don't get a chance to catch your breath, and then something else happens, and now they're, like now they're embroiled in this
Right.
next thing and all that sort of thing. So it's a rough
Which is
situation,
why
and yeah,
yeah, it is. And which is why I think like Damon's basically set up to fail with her first, you know, wish, like saying I want Aemon Targaryen. Well, you know, if he does it like he does and he, messes it up, it's all he didn't mess it up, but like it got messed up and now it's all on him. So she could conveniently say, like, I can't trust you. You look at the rash actions you take, and it's like,
yeah,
well, really, you should be accepting some responsibility here for your words. You knew who you were talking to. Like you knew Damon was gonna do something. But, like, if he doesn't take action, then she can be like, "Why wouldn't you do this for me? This is, like, the first thing I said. Like, you're normally so,
sure,
like, quick to act. Like, how dare you not follow through on this for me?" So,
mm,
like, really, it's a lose-lose unless,
sure,
Blood and Cheese actually managed to kill Aemond Targaryen.
right.
And then it's
Which
like,
I think
"I'm
would have bummed
shocked, but, like,
and
I
stuff.
feel good."
Yeah, yeah. Who just remind me if you remember because it's not showing up on
Yeah.
the regular family tree here. Who's the actual father to Rhaenyra's first 3 kids?
It's rumored
Oh,
Sir Harwin Strong.
okay. Right. His I just see his picture here and he doesn't look right. But
Yeah,
yeah,
Harwin
okay.
Strong is supposed to be he was her bodyguard, when she was married to Laenor, and, yeah, she and Laenor definitely were like, "We tried once, it went terrible,"
Yeah.
so, like,
And then
they basically
Larys
say, like yeah, Larys figures it out,
killed them all.
and also and yeah, Larys hates his dad and his brother, so he killed them all.
Yeah. Crazy. He is
Something that, will be coming back to in the 3rd episode.
yeah, Larys is an interesting character.
He's so
I
creepy.
was shocked that he was not made the hand. I thought for sure he was gonna be, but maybe that will come yet. So yeah. Um okay. Anything else on these first 2 episodes? I feel like, I can check my notes here. I feel like I'm just gonna mention that some of the backgrounds, outdoor shots in the first episode seemed a little
Mhm.
hazy or something, felt not
Yeah.
quite as real, and, like, the way that, Rhaenyra jumped off her dragon was a couple effects and shots that just, like, stood out as not quite the pinnacle that is Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon kind of
Yeah.
quality. I felt like that in episode 2, outdoor shots, I mean, it's got a lot better. Sets are still looking good. Um, yeah, those couple
Mhm.
kind of notes on production. Um, just a stressing that, oh, how bad Cole and Allison feel that they, done this. And it's like, well, oh, well, we'll just have sex again anyway. Just like it just seems nonstop. They don't even have a break to like, boy, maybe we should watch this
Right.
here. Like, let's make sure that I'm not, slacking on any of my responsibilities here
Right.
and
Right.
just full
You're
on.
right. This kid was just murdered, but hey, let's go right back to what we are doing. This sounds,
Yeah.
you know,
Hmm.
like A plus thinking right here. Like, let's just ignore all of these consequences and
Yep.
probably just keep banging. Yeah.
And, um, also, I thought it was an interesting scene with Amond. So again, we have
Mm,
absentee parents, and it seemed like because he picked a not a very good looking whore, I will say, and
that
but it's like a
that
motherly thing.
mhm.
So
Yes.
again, children
Mommy
with
issues.
yes, with a mother that doesn't give a shit is so worried about like pleasing her own dad that isn't
Mhm.
it's like just completely missing the fact that she's
Right.
neglecting
These
her kids.
terrible parental cycles here that are happening. Also, that is something that will also be coming back to in episode 3.
Okay.
Because I
Um
definitely was, like, watching that scene for the first time with Amond and that particular, um, I mean, for lack of a better term, whore, and found it an interesting choice. Found
right.
it, like,
Yes.
she just didn't seem what I not that I spent a lot of time thinking about this, but the type of, like, woman that Amond would be interested in.
You don't spend a lot of
Do
time
you know what
thinking
I
about that?
mean?
Okay. All right. Yeah, no, I
I
mean
don't I'm not just, like, washing the dishes and I'm like, "What would she look like?" You know?
yeah.
Um, but no, I did. I found it, like, an odd pairing.
Yeah.
It just sort of seemed weird, like,
Like an
this is the woman he sought out.
yeah.
So that also will get a little bit further explained in the next episode.
Yeah, we immediately because even Ash is like Ashley noticed it too. Is like, oh, I just a lot of better looking women in there. Like, what do you? But yeah, we quickly with the like curled up in the lap sort of thing. We're like,
Yeah,
okay, we get what this is here.
like petting his hair, yeah.
Yeah, and then I did
Um,
want to bring up the line because I really liked it. The "I have sinned"
oh,
says,
yeah.
and then Otto's just, I don't wish to hear it.
No, no,
That's,
no, no.
I
Could
liked
not be
that.
bothered with that.
So yeah,
Um, moving us back to Women of the Night.
Hmm.
Missaria, I feel like is the kind of the one element we haven't talked about yet because
Yeah,
she pops up at basically the right time for Damon to enact, potentially this revenge against Aemond
yeah,
uh, Targaryen. She's got a hard grudge against the High Towers, which is very convenient for Rhaenyra. And then, I mean, she sets this whole thing in motion. Not her fault. It didn't go according to plan. I don't really think it's Damon's fault either, but like, you know,
right.
quibbles now that it's all gone to pot. But then she is the person who we see witnessing Sir Eric's arrival to
Yes,
Dragonstone
yes.
right before this like horrifically awful brother battle.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, of course we have
Um,
to talk about that. Yes.
yeah, we have to talk about that. Which I mean, so glad it failed. It always was going to fail, really, but he got a lot closer than I think anybody would have dreamed he could have.
Yes.
It was
So
unfortunately a really solid idea. And then it ended the worst possible way it could, which, he kills his brother and then he's like, I can't live with the fact that I killed my brother and just like falls on his own sword in front of Rhaenyra. So she
crazy.
loses like, I mean, a loyal guy, an excellent bodyguard, an excellent swordsman, potentially somebody who could
Yep.
be like on her war council. And I mean, she loses a very valuable ally here in a horrific way in front of her.
Yes.
And Missaria is someone that I think she should pursue as a potential
Okay.
ally. I think Missaria needs to be her Varys.
Okay. Yeah, mining that web of little
Mhm.
birds.
Yes, yes, exactly. Like she's got the whole setup. Again, she's got like the hate for the high towers. Like, you know, don't be a dick about it, but definitely like use that to your advantage if you can. If Massaria is willing, like you've gained a valuable ally there.
Yeah, especially if from what they imply, she went back and like alerted, "Hey, this
Right.
seems weird." Um,
Right.
so that's a good test. I was like, I was watching her scenes, I thought, "Man, she is surprisingly uppity." She could just be killed. Like,
You know?
you know, use the information she has and then get rid of her or whatever. And so I thought that was interesting. I wonder if they'll kind of explain that more, and that she's just so like, I kind of have my pride in my way, and if you kill me, I don't have a lot to live for type
Mhm.
of thing,
Mhm.
or what? Because I'm just a little surprised by that. The way that she manages to, other
Yeah.
people of a lower status would be put in their place a little more, and they kind of let her ride. And then, I mean, yeah,
She's
uh,
clearly had an interesting life, and I think we're going to be getting into some of whatever her background is. By the way, Rhaenyra asks, "How'd you get that scar around your neck?" It's clearly like an allusion to a slave collar, or at least I took it
sure,
that way.
okay,
Um, so she's gone, I think, potentially from being a slave somewhere to, she was once Damon's mistress. He said he was going to marry her. She was pregnant with his child. He was like taking over Dragonstone and stealing dragon eggs for her. Like, there was like that element. Then she like moved kind of in a sideways direction and was like, you know, managing to keep tabs on, the comings and goings at King's Landing and like integrating herself in a position of, I have secrets,
right,
that I'll trade for power and money. So I don't know. I think she's just like gotten to be like a strong personality and like my life has been crazy. I've survived a lot of weird stuff. Like, maybe I'll just be confident in the face of this and see what happens.
sure, yeah, yeah, okay. I think that about does it. I was happy with these two episodes.
Mhm.
Again, yes, some confusing relations and some of that. Jumping back into it, having not seen season one since it aired, but very invested yet in these characters and what's to come of them, and it's ramping up nicely.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah, I feel like these first, couple episodes are definitely like we season 1 is a long journey up a mountain and these first few episodes of season 2 are like we're teetering on the precipice. And I
yeah,
think going forward, the rest of the season will be the downslide into full scale war. But these first
sure,
episodes kind of have to like show the last, like tipping point.
yeah, hmm,
So that's what I feel like these are, and they're doing it well. I don't think we should have just jumped right into like full scale action. So I think these are
yeah,
very nice setup episodes.
yep. Yeah, you can see how it's personal, how it would continue to escalate, how any
Hmm.
chance of like making amends keeps just getting rinsed away.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Solid episodes for sure. I'm liking the way season 2 is starting.
Good. Well, that's House of the Dragon, Hot D, episodes 1 and 2 of season 2, and we're gonna talk 3 and 4 next time.
Yeah.
So
Heck yeah.
two at a time, kind of thing. I think that works because there's a lot to talk about always. Or,
Always. And I
so
and I feel like it's only gonna get more packed. Like, the action will ramp up, but that doesn't mean, like, there's less to talk about. I think that's one of the nice things about this universe is even when there's, like, full scale battles, there's always, like, something else happening interpersonally, like, strategically, like, power
yeah,
grabs, relationships. It's always, like, very complex.
yep, yep, very nice. Okay, well, that's been our episode. Everybody make sure you like, share, and subscribe. We're, right now we're live on Kick, X, YouTube, and Twitch. So any of those places you want to follow Popcast on the Rocks, please do so. Um, if you're on YouTube land, Popcast on the Rocks as well. We also have our Ohio Anime channel. We also have Gamecast on the Rocks. So feel free to subscribe to any of those. On podcast directories, again, Popcast on the Rocks, you get the full episodes of this and Ohio Anime put on there. If you subscribe in that kind of way or on one of these live streaming services, you get it's amounts to about an episode a week. It's usually what it is, episode a week. Sometimes a little more, sometimes it's a little bit less, like a week and a half, whatever, but that's what you get from us. And yeah, we appreciate comments and likes and shares and all that sort of thing. The video version of this is available on Spotify if you do podcasts. And I want to just thank a few people. We got Killing the Flower. They wrote a theme song, so you should check them out on music streaming services. That's Killing the Flower. Uh, Track Mouse 34 on YouTube. That's Mike. He does racing videos. And MJ Honeybee, she is back at it now um, on Twitch, streaming
Great.
some Dead by Daylight and stuff. So I don't know what the frequency is going to be exactly, but she's back at it. She's been getting her viewers coming back and all that sort of thing. So check her out. And I think that's it. I think this was a pretty good time episode. We didn't waste too much time with other stuff and got into the hot D, and that's about it. So Andrea, we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me.
Of course. As always. Cheers, everybody.